What's up, guys? Welcome to the Been There Doing That podcast. I am super excited for you to hear this amazing episode with my buddy, Andy Karuza. Andy is a startup investor, inventor, and serial entrepreneur whose products have been sold in over 100 countries and featured in more than 100 top global media publications worldwide. So we covered a lot of ground in this episode. We talked about how he turned wild college parties into a legitimate business, his behind the scenes experience being on Shark Tank and what that whole show was like in real life, investing in space stocks and ASTS, and he's kind of my advisor when it comes to these things, the power of networking and relationships, and how to design a life of freedom, and how he travels all over the world doing awesome stuff because of the way that he created his life. So buckle up. We cover a lot of ground here. I hope you enjoy it, and follow, subscribe, comment. I'll see you on the other side, y'all.
Test. And they're doing that.
Yo, we're doing it again. Test.
I hope your neighbors those things, because they can't do a damn thing about it.
Coño.
New York City.
And they're doing that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Been There Doing That podcast. I'm here with my awesome friend, entrepreneur, Andy Karuza, the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, Andy?
Infamous, maybe, I don't know.
Don't search him on the web. You don't know what you'll find.
Don't search too far. No, just kidding. It's all good stuff.
Exactly. You might find some.
You might see some stuff from college, but forget that.
Ooh, I'm gonna research that a little bit. I'll throw in a clip right here.
Nothing too bad, just like college kids, stuff college kids would do. Like my first
Just
company
have
was
fun.
actually throwing parties.
Oh, true. That's kind of cool. So you turned throwing parties into a career for yourself.
I just do events now for fun. We do like social professional events. Mostly to build the brand and bring a bunch of professionals together in the room and try to, it's a lead gen operation for us, for our partners as well. Plus, I just like working with people.
Yeah,
like any
fun doing
excuse to
events.
do an event, I'm always on board for that.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to start with space stocks, but
I
no,
used to
we're
get
not
paid
doing
doing
that.
it when I was in college.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a second,
Yeah.
actually. Talk about the college events thing, because a lot of people in college, you're just partying, you're having a good time. I mean, I say you, but I really am reflecting on myself. I partied really hard. I like having a good time. You learn, you get experience, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just party and then they kind of burn out. But you took partying and the whole college experience and you figured out a way to monetize it. That's true entrepreneurship right there. So how did that all come about?
Well, that was my first entrepreneurship experience because like most entrepreneurs, they kind of, they're in something, like it could be like an industry or maybe they're running a company. Like I've seen a lot of agencies that might start as a service provider and then they realize that their clients have a particular need. This is how a lot of software companies start. Not all of them, but a fair amount of them that I've talked to and interviewed as well. They'll say, they're servicing clients and then they built this dashboard or platform to really help their customers.
Right,
And then
just
they
make it really
realize
easy for
they
them.
built this thing that they could sell to more people. And now you have something you could really scale, right?
Right, so it almost starts with either yourself or immediate needs of customers you're working
Exactly,
with. Then when
yeah.
you find it,
Yeah.
you're like, wait, this thing might be actually even better
People
than the
need this,
original
yeah.
part of the product.
Well, how it started in college is that, of course I was going out, but not too much, Mom, sorry.
It's okay, he's turned into a wonderful young man, all right?
I was focusing on my studies. I got all my grades done and, looked good. So I realized, I was going out like all the other kids at the time were.
Where'd you go to college again?
Western Washington, some Bodung school. A beautiful school, by the way. Not like Harvard or anything like that, but
It's all right.
it was in my hometown. It was an easy step to go from like country boy to, meeting people from all over the place and then kind of getting the itch to want to go to the big city. Heck, now I'm in New York,
Hey, the Big Apple.
Yeah,
Taking
where
a
do
bite
things
out
go?
of it.
But what I realized is that, I loved people. I was going out and, I was just a natural connector.
Right.
So, everywhere I'd go, I always wanted to meet the main guy, or the main girl, throwing the event.
Right,
and,
or the organizer.
Because you want to be on the good
That's
side
how
with them.
That's
yeah.
how I met Frank, actually.
Yeah.
At an event he was hosting. I saw him up there hosting. I'm like, I got to connect with that guy. So I always have my eyes on the prize, just like you.
Yeah,
you
you're like,
that's how you connect.
and they're all cool people. You got to meet them, and so I'd get to meet all these people, and everybody knew I was the guy to like know everybody, and they're like, Andy, where do I go this weekend? And I'm like a switchboard.
You're like, all right, well, here if you want this.
Yeah, like 10, 20 events a night I would know about, and I'd be like, oh yeah, well, if you're looking for this, you can go over there. If you're looking for this one's a caution party, but talk to this guy at the door.
Did you like organize it a certain way, or was this just all you remember in your head, or did you have like a
just
system?
all in my head, or just, I was communicating with people all the time. Like, they're like, hey, and I'm throwing an event this weekend, you want to come by? And I'm like, well, either I'll come by or I'll send some people. And pretty soon I was like sending just people everywhere across the city. And I'm like,
I should make money off of this. I'm helping a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, and I'm like, what if you brought all these people to me and just organized it?
You're like, I'm sending them away. Let's just make them go in a circle and come right back.
How about I host an event? You can come to me. It's easier for me that way.
Smart.
And then, hey, you can make some money at it. The bars and restaurants and places like that needed the business. And, for them, they're willing to, let you monetize off the bar. You can charge cover charges, and pretty much paid my way through school doing that.
Really?
So.
Okay, so you just like form strategic deals, and
Yeah.
so that's super solid to do in college because you're not only making some money, but you're like forming relationships that are very useful in your whole life. So it's like
some of them.
Well, no, I mean, maybe not the bar one, but like also you're like learning how to strike deals and work with these people.
Oh,
so
totally, yeah. And so, sometimes in life you go like different paths, and obviously the stuff I'm doing now is, I'm working with a lot of software founders, really interesting people in the tech industry, and it's a far cry from some of the people in college. Like, we just all go different paths. I got into technology and everything, but some people still live in Bellingham, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
They're completely at peace there, and I come back and they got 3-4 kids now, and I'm like, no kids.
Well, I think any lifestyle is fine as long as it's a lifestyle that makes you happy. I think the problem is that people who are just like living at home, like raising a family because that's what they thought they're supposed to do, working 9 to 5. If you're stoked about that, I have no problem. Then do that and be happy. But if you're doing it just because like society told you, then fuck that. Do something.
That's what happens to a lot of people. And marriage, I think, and having kids is a very important thing. I've always been, myself personally, I've always been very career oriented, and I love the work that I do, and for me, that's what's exciting. I'll have kids and settle down someday, but a lot of people, kind of might prioritize that a little bit more quickly.
Right, it's how you weigh everything.
Yeah, because some people just, they go to school, then they're told, oh, you got to start a family, or go get a 9 to 5 job, start a family, have some kids, and that's great if you're ready for it and that's what you want, but some people are kind of going through the motion.
Right.
And then they realize that they're stuck because you better not be running around.
It's much harder to start a business when you got a bunch of kids that depend on you.
Oh yeah.
That's a much harder position than us who's just like going for anything we want right now. No one's depending on us.
And if you fail, you're like, what?
Like, oh shit, I gotta pay rent, but it's like, it's fine.
And more importantly, pay for my kids.
The kids gotta eat. Oh damn, my kid. Sorry, no breakfast, Jimmy.
Sorry dude, I have this new social media app I want to launch. This one's gonna be a hit.
Jimmy, they didn't like the app, so we're not eating for a couple days.
Sorry, guys.
You heard about fasting? 72 hours. I guess we could do that for us, but when you got people, it's a lot tougher.
Oh, yeah. And I would recommend you put your 100% priority into taking care of them.
Exactly.
And that requires getting a job and a stable income, which, for entrepreneurship, that's not always a guarantee, right? It's actually really hard to be successful at it, so.
I'm learning more and more, man. It's just like everyone says, oh, you got to go through the failures. Dude, you have to be so fucking
when do I get to the
resilient.
good
I'm like,
stuff?
when is the good stuff? It's been like so many years, and honestly, things are finally starting to take a turn, but I'm like, most mortal humans would have quit so many times in my personal journey, and I'm sure in so many other journeys too, because it's like, dude, you get knocked on your ass. There's no certainty. You're like, is this ever gonna work? I don't know what the fuck's happening, but you just gotta keep believing and just
Nobody
wake
cares.
up. Exactly. Is anyone listening to me? I'm just putting stuff out to an echo chamber.
I look crying.
and the
Nobody's
answer
replying
is,
to my emails.
The answer is yes. We do look crazy because we are fucking crazy.
Until you're not.
Exactly.
And then everybody's like, hey, can I get to know you?
Exactly. I mean, think about our parents and generations before us. You pretty much were locked into a lifestyle. You had the 9 to 5. You got a house when you were 16. Yep. They were super early.
Yeah, for 10 grand.
Exactly. So now things are changing. people are seeing a different way to live, like different like digital nomad lifestyles.
Flexibility is key. Like flexibility is power. And that's why fortunately and unfortunately I haven't had kids and done any of that. No regrets there myself.
Right.
But I'm Uncle Andy, so like I love going back and seeing my brother's kids and bring the coolest presents.
Yeah, exactly. Then they start freaking out. You're like, I'm out of here.
Bye. Back to working on my startup.
That's so dope. The Uncle Andy effect.
But like the flexibility to be able to like take those risks and make moves if you need to, like me moving to New York here, I didn't have to check with anybody. I just said, I'm going to move to New York.
Right, just following your heart and your dreams.
Yeah.
And hey, not to say if you have a kid or family, you can't follow your dreams. You just have to do it a little differently. You have to do late nights, to sacrifice something else like sleep.
Moonlighting, that's what I tell people. Like, don't quit your day job. You got to get your money in because like entrepreneurship is tough, and if you could work on it at night, just get that MVP going, see if there's some traction there.
And you have the steady money flow coming in. I'll tell you, it's so much I don't know what they call it, dumb money. Like scared money decisions are really not good decisions. If you're like nervous about paying bills and stuff, you're not thinking as clearly and you're not able to just like actually go after it. So it's good to have that flow. Because I used to do my full-time job and then this side hustle, and then I got laid off because I was working in corporate real estate. COVID happened.
I got nothing to lose.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to get another job, so I'm just going to commit to it. But then a couple rough years there when I didn't have the job to lean on. I was just like, holy shit, I did some crazy shit, like dip into my 401k.
It makes you appreciate things more, like my first company, like I transitioned it from, I was in Bellingham, Washington, then I moved to Seattle, Washington, and I was still going to school there, and I'm like, some guy came down from Seattle, and he's like, oh, you can't do it in the big leagues in Seattle.
I do it.
I'm like,
fuel.
what?
Yeah.
And
Fuck
I'm like,
you, man. I'll do whatever I
forget
want.
this, man. So I go down there, and I go to, this is in college, mind you, and I go to the biggest club in town. And I walk up to the front. I'm like, I need to speak to the general manager.
That's awesome.
I'm like
You're
22.
Like, someone just told me
and
I
the guy
couldn't
comes
do
up,
this.
and I give him this Biggie Smalls like looking card that says we're Notorious Productions then, and he's like, he told me years later, he's like, I'll never forget. You're like, can I speak with the manager, like a Karen?
Karen, you want to get there? I need to speak to somebody, please.
And then he gave me then this guy gave me this Biggie Smalls business card.
Damn.
And I'm like,
you got to be ballsy sometimes. That's what it takes. You got to just come in there with confidence.
And then I ended up like doing all these. This was when social media was really taking off. So I used social media as a vehicle to kind of, to promote my events. And then pretty soon, like everybody in Seattle like knew about my events. I launched this Seattle nightlife page, and everybody was going to my events and they didn't even know how. They're like, oh yeah, the Seattle nightlife page told me all about.
They know the page before you, right?
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, social media, it's like, dude, I always go back to the generations before us because people who are like in this day and age just complain, oh, it's all so hard. I don't want to fucking hear it because it's actually the easiest now than it ever has been historically.
Oh, it's cheaper, it's easier than ever to launch a company.
You used to have to get a loan. You used to have to get commercials on TV.
Yep.
We all have social media for free at our fingertips. You could just think of an idea and use ChatGPT to get some concepts and content created, and then just pump it out and just try things and
you can
low
almost
cost.
Promote something with just a landing page and just like get some social media buzz going about it and just get a bunch of signups, and then boom, you're like, hey, we have some interest in this thing.
And then you can start putting some money into it and more time, but it's like you can prove things out in a much quicker, prototypey way in this day and age. So,
it's way easier.
Social media is awesome. I mean, listen, of course, I personally get addicted to it. Sometimes I as a nervous habit, I'll go on Instagram just to check. I'm like, I'm doing that too automatically. But for a business tool, I think it's super solid.
Totally,
to take ideas off the ground.
Yeah, and people need to realize that entrepreneurship's a journey. You know what I mean? It should be fun. I enjoy it. I've had ups and downs, and for me, I loved every moment of it. It's the failures, I think, that are the most fun stories.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones that really...
When you don't take it personally, you're like, oh man, learned a tough lesson there. But you're able to take those lessons and apply it to the next one and just do things better and better, right? So 100%. You look at it as a career.
Do you have any ones that stick out, either from what was this business called? The college one with the parties?
Yeah, so that one was called Notorious Productions. I was working with this other guy on it. Then I spun off my own company. Called it Lush Life. So that one was like we were throwing
like
3 or 4
version. Yeah. Sounds like I'm Notorious.
It was fun, man. We're making a lot of money just throwing parties, and then just meeting a lot of people and just doing the thing in Seattle. But from that, because I was so into social media, it opened up opportunities for me to launch a social media agency. because a lot of people are like, oh, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, it's all over social media. That's
They want to know how to replicate that.
Yeah.
You could productize this and sell it.
Yeah, so we had some sponsors, like Ducati was one of our sponsors. We were doing like Seattle Fashion Week and stuff too. Got to model for them back in the day. I'm like, I'm 40 now, way
You can still model, bro. You're looking great, bro.
But like back then, I was a tiger. I tell you.
Yeah, God, I was going after it.
Yeah, so I was like, hey, do you guys want some help with social media? So Ducati became my first client for my company there.
That's a very awesome first client.
Yeah. Then I got to work with Microsoft and got into technology that way, and that's what got me into like building products, like actual tech products.
Awesome.
But everything started from throwing parties.
Okay, great. So back to the failures.
Yeah.
Did anything happen at the parties that like anything fuck up, or like whether it's either like you have an angry client or somebody you got an order wrong, or whether it's with that company or any of your companies, anything stand out as far as just losing a lot of money? Those are the ones that my failures are the ones where I lose a lot of money. I'm like, that sticks.
I have a lot of crazy stories.
You're like, which ones are podcast
Yeah, which
friendly?
which one's podcast friendly? So, for the event stuff, like that was it was a shit show of a business. Like, a lot of it was cash based only.
Sure.
It was very fun. It was like over the last like 15 years, I would say that I've been doing like legitimate, actual, real businesses. We actually have like an accounting,
Right, HR
yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Whereas before there was just like cash and like, it was just all cash based.
Like no contracts, just like these handshakes and cash.
I had people stealing money from me and stuff too, like, and like it was kind of a shit show business that made good money, but like it was never anything you'd want it to be like a long-term thing. It was like fun in college and it was good for what it was, but.
True. I mean, I feel like a lot of my failures are like things where people found either I didn't have an agreement in place or I didn't put a clause in the agreement. Every time I get fucked over or something went wrong, that's a new clause in my agreement moving forward. And my agreements in this day and age are like real long. Because I'm like, it's all, every time I get fucked, I'm like, oh, that's something I didn't think about. So now mine are like really tight. I think you got to, either you have a good mentor that tells you about it, or you just got to kind of
Well, that's what I liked about like the hard like business lessons. And they're very simple. Like, there's a lot of business lessons and just basic like, business negotiations and the way you do business. Like, that I learned from doing the events that, I had some slip ups and failures and whatever there. It was like you mess up and you have a bad party one night or whatever.
Right.
Or like, some guy stiffs you and you're like, well, I'm not going to work with that guy again. But like, learning the tough lessons in a business that's really, ultimately not that important.
Right. It's
better
true.
to learn those lessons that way than some like big company where you raise a bunch of money and you have a bunch of people's like livelihoods on the line, and then you're making like rookie mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Frank always tells me. He says, negotiate when it doesn't matter. In situations either like that, throwing events something that's not going to be your whole life, or just like at a restaurant, or if you're shopping and you want to try to get a better deal, just like I look at life like a video game. I'm just like, let me try different things, see what works. And it's crazy if you just like try things. You can get a lot more your way in life. And of course, don't fuck people over, but like.
Yeah. Well, if you mean well, like you'll end up like doing well, and then, the results will tend to kind of fall in line with that.
Right.
I think a lot of people try to focus on like doing it to make money, but if you do it to try to help people, whatever you do, like I had a company where we invented smart backup cameras to help people with their backup, safe parking. But it was a really cool product, right? But I did it because most car. Well, I didn't have one on my car.
I need this.
So I'm like, I need this, and I'm like, wait, a lot of other people need this too.
Other people drive cars. Whoa.
Right. So if you're focused on like trying to solve people's problems, and it's a big enough of a problem at scale that a lot of people need solved, and they're willing to pay money for it, especially in cases where maybe enterprise software, where they'll pay a lot of money for it.
Right.
You can make a really good business from that, and you're creating value for people. And at the end of the day, like entrepreneurship is really an art of creating value for people.
Solving people's problems.
Yeah.
So many people got problems out there. It's like, what can you do?
And you make some money on the margin, but like
exactly.
if you're making something 10 times more affordable for them, 10 times better, 10 times better experience, they're gonna pay you money for that.
Right, and if they really like you too, back to the relationships thing.
Oh,
like
100%,
most people, even if there's like 10 products in the market, if you're the founder of one of them and they like you, then the competition doesn't matter. It's really just a relationship game.
Community is everything, and that's one thing I learned too. Early days as well, because I always really appreciate people. And I like people, and that's what got me into the business of doing the events.
Right.
And now even with NachoNacho, what we do is we have a community for selling software products. And I get to work with a lot of cool people like yourself and people that are part of these software companies and be a part of their growth journey. It's fun, but people are at the core of everything you do. And if you do it for them and you actually enjoy people, they'll actually gravitate towards you and want to see your success as well.
100%.
And especially in the world of automation, AI is like everywhere. But if you could be like a real person and actually really
people actually
humanize
call
yourself,
and talk, yeah. And
they're going to want to get behind your business.
Exactly. And if you don't like talking to people, then be a coder or a developer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just there's
and I have some people like that.
Yeah, true. Not everyone's meant to be a people person. There's jobs for everybody. There's ways to create.
Totally.
There's the behind the scenes entrepreneur too. You just got to find a co-founder who can get in front and do the sales and marketing and networking.
Exactly. The yin and the yang. A lot of times it's the opposite person. Same with personal relationships too, right? Sometimes you'll find that the best person for you is almost the opposite of you.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they'll kind of
balance each other out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just in an echo chamber screaming about how awesome your shit is.
Yeah, can you imagine you and me starting a company?
It'd be pretty dope. We just need a technical person in there.
We need a Frank or a Sanjay.
Exactly, someone to just chill it out a little bit.
And they need us too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but yin and the yang kind of thing.
Yeah, man. So with the backing up the car, is that the one you're on Shark Tank with?
Yeah. So we were on Shark Tank for that.
Okay, let's hear about that next week. Because that is that's something that people dream of in the startup world. And you're you start out in a small town, you're in the Big Apple, you're on Shark Tank, making shit happen. How did that all go down?
Well, this was when I was, maybe I was in Seattle, but I ended up moving to Austin, Texas for a few years because the Capital Factory down there invested in us. So I ended up moving in with this guy. His name was Brandon Austin. And he was another entrepreneur. Brandon Austin and Austin. So he had this underwater fishing camera company. It was called Go Fish Cam. A super cool product. You could tie it to the end of your lure, and you could put it underwater, and then film the
live
fishing
action.
Yeah.
The fish get
So he ended up selling his company and all that. But we're roommates there, and I ended up pitching to Shark Tank. There's this whole process where you had to submit your information and basically a pitch video.
Okay.
And I used to watch Shark Tank all the time, and I was I want to be on that show.
Yeah, it's like a dream, right?
Yeah. So I got my CFO's daughter, because I don't have any kids, right? So I'm we need a good skit, And my CFO was he's well, my kid could actually drive those Power Wheel cars really well. Do you think we can incorporate her somehow? And I'm what if she was driving the little mini Power Wheels car, and she had the backup camera on it, and we demonstrated the product with a kid? People love kids.
Exactly. Yeah. Toy car is a fun little prototype.
Right? And I'm can I borrow your kid?
Excuse me, sir.
So he sent me videos of her doing it, and I'm dude, this is a winner, man. He's I'm can you have her parallel park, And he's boom, sends a video.
She can parallel park. How old is she?
Parallel park that thing. She was back then it was 5,
Jeez, man, I'm 33 and I can barely parallel park.
I know, right? Especially these New York drivers are terrible.
I know.
That's why I don't drive here, but
never.
My car is over in Seattle. Well, not anymore, actually. I got totaled on Christmas Eve, but I'm okay, though. Rest in peace, car.
Damn. Rest in pieces, I guess.
It was still one piece, but it didn't look that good.
It's not good piece. Sorry, man.
But anyways, so we submitted this, and we ended up getting accepted and ended up going down there and filming for it.
Very
then little did I know that Brandon, my roommate actually, which seems like the craziest thing, but my roommate actually also got on the Shark Tank.
So you guys didn't talk about it?
We didn't talk about it.
You're you're here, dude. Whoa.
Well, no, we filmed a different time period. So I filmed in July. There's a July segment. He filmed in September.
Was it in Austin, or did you have to fly somewhere?
No, we had to go to Studio City in LA.
Okay, cool.
So we went out there. We stayed at there's a Holiday Inn or some crap they put us all in. So we went out there. We went to I think it's Universal Studios, the same place where they have Wheel of Fortune. We literally there's all these huge warehouses basically, and they kind of drive you on these little golf carts in between them.
Clearly a different world.
Yeah, and they're names on the side. You're oh, what's that? And then you're
oh, Mark Cuban, what's up, man?
Yeah. I'll get to that part next, but
oh, nice.
yeah, and we were driving by, and I'm like, oh, there's Wheel of Fortune. Can I see that one real quick? And they're like, yeah, sure, why not? The door's like, open. So I peek in there, and I'm like, oh, the Wheel of Fortune.
I can just imagine a live recording. It's on air, and your head just in the background, just kind of sneaking in.
There's like he's randomly in some like TV show episode, yeah. So I ended up doing the whole pitch. It was like early in the morning.
How'd that go? How was that experience? Were you like nervous? Was it
Very nervous, yeah.
It was like a lot of pressure with the.
Yeah.
Did they like tell you to like make this kind of like TV like, or what was the deal?
Honestly, I mean, I don't know if I can say this, but I don't know if I'm under contract anymore. But yeah, ultimately my episode didn't end up airing, which is a good thing probably. But so I ended up doing the pitch. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's kind of early to pitch.
They get like 150 companies, I think, that end up filming. So you go from like 50,000 companies, and they bring down maybe 200 or something like that, and then
heavy vetting process. That's a lot they have to go through.
Oh man, I would hate to have their job, but yeah. So a couple get cut like on the spot. They'll do like a test run with you there before you even go out. So if you just totally bomb it, they're like, oh, dude, we're not even gonna put this guy out there.
Oh God! So you have to do it twice essentially.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I failed that. No, just kidding. So I passed that one. So I actually ended up getting to go out there. Did they have the actual sharks on the test run, or just some producers? No, just the producers. This guy named Phil. So there's this main guy like Mark something. Mark
not Cuban.
Burnett or something. Not Cuban, yeah, the other Mark. So he's the guy that like started the whole thing, but like he's not there. It's like this guy named like Phil something, and I forget the other guy's name. But they're the main guys that run like the day to day. Like they run everything there. So you pitch those guys basically, and. Then they have like their lawyers come in and talk about all this stuff. But yeah, so I won't share too much.
Just talking to you, just like blah 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 blah.
I'm like, yeah, blah blah. I'm ADHD. It kind of goes one ear out the other. So I go in there, and it's totally live too, by the way, in case anybody wonders. But so we go out there, and the kid, like, she's rolling up behind me, and my whole kind of shtick was like, it's so easy to do. A kid can do it,
Oh, so she came with. Did you have co-founders at this point, or was it just you?
That was just me. It was just me.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot for one guy.
And so my CFO and his wife were there, and they're divorced now. But so they were there, and they got to go backstage, and so they were kind of there. They had this like whole little person there to make sure the kid wasn't working for too many hours or something, like LA stuff, like you don't want lawsuits or whatever.
Child labor.
This kid's child labor.
Child labor.
Like, this kid's gonna be famous, dude.
Come on, you're giving them an opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity. Yeah, she's gonna be.
Probably what child laborers probably said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but like it was like they were totally like my CFO was his idea, because like. Of course, they want to go to their cocktail parties and tell everybody their kid's a TV star.
Of course, proud
so I'm
dad.
like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll use the kid as a prop. Good for them, good for me. I get a cool prop, and obviously the pitch worked. So we ended up getting there, filming it, and went through the whole like set of sharks. Lori Grenier was there, Mark Cuban, Kevin O'Leary, Barbara, and then. Did I say Lori? What's the other guy too? Robert Herjavec.
Oh, wow. That must have been intimidating, dude, getting up there.
Yeah, just boom. Hey, the guys are there.
You're like, shit, am I ready
like,
for
these are real
8 in the morning?
They're real.
You're like, oh, damn, I've been training for this my whole life. Am I going to choke?
Yeah, don't fuck up.
Oh, God.
So, like, I did my pitch. I think it went okay, but, like, I think I stumbled a little bit during some of the questions, Barbara ended up offering a deal, and in the moment I was probably thinking too much actually. I should have said yes, and then it looked good for TV. Then you could probably like later figure out the terms and all that kind of stuff, which happens a lot. So like my buddy actually ended up getting an investment from Kevin O'Leary when he filmed in September. And the deal fell through in due diligence. So like,
so it doesn't necessarily, if they say it on TV, it doesn't necessarily mean the whole thing.
a lot of them fall apart.
It's basically a verbal.
It's a verbal, handshake agreement kind of thing. So a lot of times, like entrepreneurs might not be forthcoming. They get into their books and they're like, "Oh, this company's shit."
Yeah, exactly. Or they look at their background a little bit, like, "Oh, scam artist."
Yeah, or something. Something comes up, or they're like, sometimes the sharks might have like certain terms in the deal that the entrepreneurs don't like.
Right.
But generally speaking, like if you get a deal, it looks good for TV, and you usually end up airing. So like, I was going to air, they called me and they're like,
what didn't you like? Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt. Yeah. I'm so intrigued by this. But what didn't you like about the deal that you said no to?
They cut my valuation and like a fourth. So I was going for like a $4 million valuation. She's going to do like a $1 million valuation. But in retrospect, it would have been good to partner with her, and just
see where that could play
out.
It
would have been a good partner to have to kind of get some publicity and kind of use that as kind of a launch pad to go. But whatever.
Hey man, it's all part of the experience.
It is, yeah, and it was cool. And the producer called me. We were gonna air, but like it was a season that cut short, so like we were one of the.
So you actually were gonna air, and then they just actually were taking out just your episode. It's like, fuck.
Well, probably a couple others too, but for me, like I don't look at that as like we're in. Consider it a successful failure.
Of course. There's always something to take away from it. It's all your perspective.
Right. Yeah. And for me, I'm like, I set a goal, to go. As far as I'm concerned, I did it. Right.
Right. You went on Shark Tank, bro.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it wasn't on TV. You went on Shark. You pitched to the sharks, dude.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe it's not the results I wanted,
but
have not
done that, dude. That's like most people have not done that. People talk about it all the time. You did that shit.
Yeah. And it's like you can do anything you set your mind to, right? And even in entrepreneurship, like sometimes you'll have a win that you don't maybe make a lot of money on, but like you learn a lot from it, you have a great experience, and you take that with you to the next one.
Right.
And really the people that love entrepreneurship and love going through
you'll just keep finding a way.
Yeah, you'll find a way. Yeah.
The other ones who are just like in it for the money, like you said earlier, they're their first failure, they're probably out. They're like, I gotta get a job.
They're gone quick,
Yeah, because it hurts.
Yeah.
So you got to be really all about the mission to get your ass back up and get back in the ring.
100%. Like when I started, when I launched in Seattle, coming from Bellingham, I saw that as a way to get out of the small town, right? So I was sleeping in my car, and I would.
When you came to New York?
No, in Seattle. Not now.
No. You live in a car? Oh, do you need help? No. So we're gonna start a GoFundMe for Andy, everybody.
1-800 find Andy. No, just kidding. No. We got a nice place here.
No. So how did it all go down in your move?
But
to
back
Seattle?
then I was living like I was living paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, and it was fun, because I was like transitioning from like doing events in Bellingham to Seattle and putting some money into it.
And it was really just all about you wanting bigger opportunities.
Yeah, you had to
city.
be there, you had to be in the scene, and for me it was just you got to be down there. So I'd sleep on people's couches or I'd sleep in my car if I didn't have a place to go to, and then I'd wake up in the morning and I'd drive back to Bellingham and go to my classes, and then go back up there and throw another event. Wow. And everybody's like, wow, you're like the biggest parties in Seattle. Like, how come I've never met you here in Seattle?
Because I live in my car.
Because I live in my car. And I actually live in Bellingham.
I live in my car or far away.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't even live in this city. Everybody knows me here.
Dude, that's like a true example of fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You were just up in that shit. You just
I wasn't even playing like I lived there. I was just like,
you're like, I'm like,
hey, do you want to go to a cool party in this city? Come to this event. And I was there.
Yeah, you just happened to be there. You never told anyone you lived there. If they want to make assumptions, that's on them, bro.
When they had asked me, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm sleeping at my buddy's house, or actually, no, I'm sleeping on the corner of.
Be like, do you want to host me tonight? I would love to have a warm shower, but thank you.
Can I crash at your place tonight?
Like, ooh, I wish I never asked. But that's great. So how
exactly,
what did you learn from your experience?
I wish I never asked. I like you, but I don't like you
all
that
right.
much. Yeah.
What did you learn from your experience, like going to the big city? How did that? Was there more opportunity? Did that kind of shape your thinking of wanting to go to New York, or like how was that Seattle experience?
Yeah,
how did that transition?
There's always more opportunity in like the commerce hubs, right? I lived in San Francisco for a few years as well. Got a taste of that. I don't want another taste of that. But
oh shit, that was not too good.
I liked my time in San Francisco, and I love visiting there. I don't like living there as much.
Right.
Great for business. New York City's got a way cooler vibe.
Right, because it's just different. It's not just business. It's not only techies out there. You got the arts.
It's not just tech. Where you're in a tech bubble. It's like people don't just ask like, oh, what tech company do you work at, and what round of funding do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
that gets old.
Yeah.
That gets old after a while. Like here we got like all these like Queens and all these restaurants and different cultures.
People from different backgrounds and like
cool.
from Europe and like all over the world coming here to hustle. It's like a hustle city,
it's awesome.
And
people have fun too, and there's cool experiences to be had as well.
Right? Yeah, and it's everybody I meet here is like a go-getter. They're super cool. the first thing they ask is not about how much funding you have.
Yeah, true. It's
or,
like, what are
they can
you all
get from
about?
you
What do you
necessarily.
like? What do you
Depends.
like?
Maybe if you go to Greenwich. Some
Yeah,
people.
sometimes you get that. I try to do at networking events. I'm getting better at this, but instead of just be like, oh, what do you do? I try to like ask people more like thoughtful questions. I'm like, yeah, what do you like in life? Like, what do you enjoy? I try to start with something like that, because then it, like, oftentimes it'll be what they do for work, which it means they figured it out. They figured out how to do what they love for work. But
it doesn't have to be the first question, right?
exactly. It's just like, what do you love doing? That'll tell you more about a person than what their job is. You know, you find out actually about who they are on the inside.
So true, yeah.
So Seattle, and then, well, I guess when did you then move to New York? What kind of sparked that whole movement, and how did that go? Was there any learning curves there, or how did?
Well, I mean, for me, like, because my lifestyle is very flexible. You know, lived in San Francisco for a few years, did Austin, went back to Seattle for a few years. I still go to Seattle a lot, like every 2 months. I have a lot of friends and family out there, and I love the outdoors. So for me, like,
It looks beautiful. All the pictures. I've always dreamed of going to the Pacific Northwest. I've never been there, and I see your pictures. I'm like, I gotta go there. Like Jackson Hole, and like,
come in the summertime, man.
dude, I will, bro. Can we make that happen, bro? It looks so beautiful.
It's the most beautiful place in the world in the summertime.
but too cold in the winter.
Actually, even during the winter too. Like during the winter, like the only problem is that it's really dark and rainy.
Okay.
So if you can kind of get through that, the summertime, it's like, I think, the most beautiful place in the world. Like the mountains are just gorgeous. Like it's sunny up until like 9 o'clock at night.
And does it get too hot, like for hiking and everything, or
not too bad usually? I mean, you get in like 80s. Sometimes you can get to the 90s and 100s. Like that's kind of rare, but like, summers are like nice 70s to 80s.
That's
usually.
perfect. That's like my favorite temperature.
Right, and you can just go out in the middle of the mountains there and just go hiking in the middle of the Cascades.
Be yourself and be free.
Like tens of miles away from anything, and like walking like miles and miles, like up a mountain, over a mountain, down.
You get lost out there, dude?
No. I got a good map and good sense of directions too. And you'll come to a fork in the road and say, if you go 30 miles this way, you'll run into Lake Chelan. You're like, oh, no shit.
All right. 30 miles, it's a long walk.
It's an adventure, out there, like, it's just beautiful. Great skiing too. But like outdoors, it's amazing there. But for city and commerce, like New York City is the best for sure.
So did a business opportunity come up, or were you just like sick of all the things you've done in your life and you want to try something new, like for New York?
I met a girl.
That's always that.
That's usually, sometimes that's the case, right? Like I moved to Austin because, one of our investors
I know why you're
was there.
ducking the question.
Yeah. But for New York, like met this girl, and I was on my birthday trip somewhere. And, there's these girls from New York there. My buddy, he couldn't make it he's another entrepreneur. He couldn't make it to the event. So he's like, hey, I have a bunch of girls from New York there that want to come out. You guys are going out doing your thing. Me and the boys, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, sure. Bring them out. So a bunch of New York girls came out, and I met her there. And then, we started chatting a little bit more over time, and ended up meeting in Chicago at some point, probably like 6 months to a year later, something like that. And then I'd broken up, had a relationship before, and we ended up breaking up. So started chatting with this girl more, and ended up eventually meeting up in Chicago, and hit it off really well, right? And then she's like, hey, come out and visit me in New York. And I'm like, okay.
All right, whatever you say.
Yeah. So I came out here, and we started hanging out here, and then she'd come to Seattle and back and forth. And then, she has a corporate job here, so for her, she can't really move. And, my life is really flexible. Really, I've always never really had to be anywhere for my work. I've always been remote, like, or worked out of co-working spaces, it's,
which is great, by the way. It's just like so free. And I
was remote before remote working was a thing.
Before COVID,
yeah,
essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, like, because even,
so she's like, let's get a place together. And I'm like, well, do you come to Seattle and give up your great job here? Or do I come to New York where I could be in freaking Bangladesh?
Yeah, true. You're like, you'll go wherever the fuck.
And I'm like, sure, I'll come to New York. Let's get an apartment together.
Nice. And then you just continue.
Here we are.
Awesome.
A couple years later.
New York is happy you're here, bro.
Yeah. And then I met crazy people like you and so many other great people here.
You
And
love
I'm
it
like,
here?
these are like my people here,
True. Yeah. I see myself always in New York. It's just such a. I'll travel other places, but New York is the shit. I like
great people, man. They're like everybody's about getting stuff done.
Exactly.
Like
No one's
in
lazy.
LA, people are too chill. Like when I go to
Or
LA,
fake.
Yeah, or fake.
Sorry if
too,
you're from LA. A lot
Yeah.
of you are fake as fuck, dude.
I
I don't
love
know
my
what
LA
to tell you.
friends,
I
but-
love you guys, but some of you are.
I'd love to visit. I don't know if I could stay because like when I'm in New York, like you're just boom, just hustling.
At least
all
you
day
know where you
long.
stand with people, even if some
Yeah.
of them are assholes a little bit. You're like, all right, well, at least we are straightforward.
Yeah, if they like you, they'll tell you. If they don't like you, they'll tell you. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get that
yeah.
out of the way right
Exactly.
away.
They're like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
Now we're friends forever.
Yeah. Okay. You want to make this thing happen? Let's do it.
Yeah, 100%. So, dude, that's so awesome. Like the nomad thing and like being able to work forever from anywhere. That's something that I love in my life. And
Yeah.
actually, we were just talking earlier before the podcast about how we have to intentionally make sure we like get out of the apartment sometimes
Yeah.
because it can, if you just get comfortable just being in one spot, like, holy shit. So.
Yeah.
It is free and it's great because you could travel. And I see you traveling everywhere. I see you taking, like you just were gone for 2 weeks. We were supposed to do this podcast.
I'm going to Europe
in
next week for a
Jesus
couple
Christ.
weeks.
How do you, all right, so how did you design this lifestyle? 'Cause I think a lot of people who are listening, either they are striving for more in their life or they're thinking about how to design a
Actually, I'm
lifestyle.
going to be traveling for 2.5 months after
Jesus
this.
Christ, you just were traveling for 2 months.
Shoot.
Yeah, ah, shoot. So how do you like?
My girlfriend hates it.
Okay, I could imagine.
Like, come back home.
So how do you like? How did you set yourself up for this? And like, what advice do you have for people who maybe feel trapped in one location, want to have that flexibility? And like, even the digital nomad thing, but even like I see you like snowboarding and stuff. And
Yeah.
how do you like take off of work and like your whole life that you design? How did you
Yeah.
make that happen?
For me, just entrepreneurship, which afforded me the flexibility to be able to make choices I wanted to make in life, as opposed to like choices being forced on me.
Right.
And put yourself in a position like that, and you could do those kind of things as well. But you don't have to be in that position as well yourself. You could look at other opportunities that give you the flexibility that you need to live the life that you want as well. And like remote work, for instance, is an amazing opportunity
Right.
today. And I tell people all the time, like, heck, some people just want to be a bartender or something. You don't need to deal with the 9-to-5 stress and all this stuff just to make a little bit more money. Just go work in a bar or something. It's
Yeah,
perfectly
exactly.
fine, dude. Like,
As long as you're
just
enjoying
make
your
your money,
life.
enjoy your life. Like, money's not the most important thing, But maybe you pick a job that's like offers remote work, right? And maybe you might not make as maybe you lose a little bit of money, maybe 10%.
Right.
Of what you could get paid, maybe working at this other company that might pay you more, or maybe 20%, whatever it is. But like, what price can you put on, on your happiness and the flexibility in your life? So, if you do want to consider that, maybe you take a pay cut, but like, freaking go live in Mexico for 6 months.
And I know people who do that. They like
Yeah.
go to
Just
Tulum or
work from there.
Cabo or like, and they're just like doing the thing. And I think this comes down to kind of what we were talking about earlier about like
Yeah.
defining your values and then balancing it. Like,
Yeah.
people value family. Some people value freedom. Some people
Yeah.
value like a lot of money and like having a retirement fund or whatever that
Yeah.
is. So instead of just trying to look online and see what other people are doing and be like,
And
I
don't
should be
just do
doing
what
that.
everybody else is doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just figure out what your set of values is and then
Yep.
figure out your life plan according to that and figure out the balance that works for you. I think there's too
Yep.
much pressure on like, oh, this person on social media, they're traveling everywhere. Someone might be like, oh, I should be doing that. But maybe they don't even fucking like traveling. And they're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, so it's like, what do you like? It's like, I think people should look in the mirror more and really
Yeah.
think about their core values and how to make that happen.
Especially in social media, like everybody's keeping up with the Joneses, and like
Oh.
I think a lot of stuff is like insecurity, and it's like, don't be insecure. Like somebody's always going to be better than you. Somebody's going to be worse than you. Somebody's
Exactly.
going to make more money than you. Somebody's going to make less money than you. Like, don't judge yourself or base yourself on that. Base yourself on like, are you living the life that you want that makes you happy, right? And I think a lot of times people think they need to be something that they don't actually want to be, and they just try to keep up with what everybody else is doing. But
They lose themselves in the
Yeah.
process. They don't even know
Yeah.
who they are, what they want anymore. And and that's what you
and they
just
sell
said.
themselves out.
Exactly. And what you just said is a lesson I've learned myself, which is like, what the fuck did we just? I lost my train of thought. What did you just say?
Space stocks.
Space thought. All right, we're gonna go to space in a second. Let me see if I can just go full circle on this. Doing what other people want to. Oh, got it. I'm around so many heavy hitters every day.
Yeah.
Like you and Frank and all the guys I work with. I'm like, sometimes I get like down on myself, like, dude, everyone's so much smarter than me. I can't crush it like they do. And I'll catch myself like really comparing. And then I'll go to a networking event and I'll talk
Yeah.
to someone who like doesn't know much about AI and they'll
Yeah.
ask me and I'll start just like raining knowledge
Yeah.
on them and like blowing their mind. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I do know shit. It's just all relative. Like
Yeah.
it's about who you talk to. It's just
It
like
is.
some
And
people
are relatively at different places in life too, and that's fine as well. there's a saying that like everyone's my grader in some way, right?
Yep.
And that I've learned of them. So you should always be looking for the best in people and trying to emulate those better qualities. And then, there's some other areas where maybe people, might be lacking where you're really good. Empathize
100%.
with that as well, right?
Right.
Maybe you could bring them along and help them out.
Exactly. There's always something you can learn from someone and something you can bring to the table. I've had people in my life that I'm not gonna name any names, but recently like
Bob,
like really like hard on themselves and like being like, oh, I have nothing really to offer at these events or whatever. And I'm like, everyone has something to offer. Even
just
if
gotta figure out what that is,
exactly,
yeah.
or even if it's just you being curious and like just like making someone feel heard and just being a listening ear. Like you think too hard about what value, but bringing value sometimes is simple. Sometimes you just
a lot of times it's what people might see in you that you don't even see in yourself. Like
Exactly.
it'll come up a lot. People are like, oh, you're like this, or like you're really good at that, or like, hey, talk to Ben, he's really good at this, and you're like, wow, maybe I am good at that. Maybe I should do something with that.
Exactly. Yeah. How can I monetize this? I'm already helping people.
monetize. No.
Exactly. Speaking of monetizing, full circle, dude. We were going to start this with space stocks, and we just covered so much ground, which is awesome. This is exactly what I like this podcast to be.
Back up where we started.
Back where we started, motherfucker. All right, let me start by saying, hello, everybody. This is not financial advice. Consult with your financial advisor before you take any of the advice we're about to do.
Yeah.
There's a disclaimer right there.
Yeah, don't sue me.
Don't sue Andy. But I'll tell you one thing. All right, Andy, you are all about ASTS.
Take everything with a grain of salt.
Everything with a grain of salt.
Make your own
you might have
decisions,
missed the window, but Andy will probably say you didn't. But
maybe you did. I don't know.
ASTS, which I'll ask you to explain in a second, but you told me at one point like this thing's about to pop off. They have like their space. They're doing space communication, and you're like, Ben, now's a great time. I'm like, all right. And you told me about options trading. I put a couple $100 in. It like 10x'd. All the way to the point where Gallows was like calling you an inside trader. You're like, Andy, you're full of shit. But then,
how do you know this stuff? And
but
I'm
then
like, deep research, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Then afterwards, he said, dude, I asked Andy so many questions, and it checks out, bro. He just knows his shit. So I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's not an inside trader, but I'm glad I listened to him. You and him are my financial advisors. But okay, so tell me about it's full circle. You're a startup founder, you're involved in startups, and now you're like an investor in a lot of ways too. So what is, I guess maybe start by sharing a little bit about ASTS, why you're excited about it, and like what your thoughts are.
One of my next evolutions was after being an operator doing the work. I was like, what if I give money to other people and make them do the work for me?
That's 100% my goal in life. By the way, I'm working way too fucking hard. I want to be an angel investor after.
Yeah, so like with all my experiences, being an operator, I could be like, my investment principle is the 4 T's: team, timing, traction, technology. And sometimes it's not technology. T can be interchangeable with unique selling proposition. So it's got to have like a very compelling, unique selling proposition to really stand out in the market. But over my years of experience as an entrepreneur, I've really kind of focused on these, and I had to make some acronym bullshit for it. So it's marketable maybe someday. Don't steal it.
Well, so you heard it first here.
But what I found was, there's, for a good successful company, it starts with team always, right? So if you have a good team with the background and proven track record, like they know what they're doing, they can execute on it, they have all the right people on the team to pull it off, that's always a really good sign. So you bet on the horse in the right race.
You're like, because no matter what the problems are, they'll figure that out.
They'll figure it out.
And this goes back to the relationship thing we were talking about. It's relationships. You trust them.
You could be like, all right, trust these people with your money, even if it's like as ambitious of a thing as like launching space satellites, right?
Right.
So traction, so some sort of proven track record of success, like with this new model, like some sort of MVP in place, showing that there's customer interest, maybe some contracts, like, and I'm pretty good at like evaluating business models because I've, been a part of a lot of business models.
Yeah.
And get a feel for it, and I'm like, okay, I think customers would pay for this. And these guys have proven that they can get other said customers interested in it. So they're, get in early, there might be something here, right? So team timing, team traction, timing is the other thing too. So a lot of times timing really makes everything happen, right?
Right, because think of so many businesses that could have been like the next unicorn, but it was just a little early. Even like you think about the whole NFT space and all of that, like timing could just, the world could just not be ready for something.
100%. And like when it comes to like space mobile, there's been other satellite companies that have tried to do this, in the past, but the infrastructure costs were way too high. So Why did the timing work for this one? Well, SpaceX was, brought down the cost of launches by 10x. 1/10 the cost. NASA was doing it.
Wow.
That's government efficiency for you.
How did they?
You get an entrepreneur on the problem,
It's
So
true.
now the infrastructure is there to launch these satellites up there at a much more affordable price, right? And so what these guys figured out though was a way to basically replicate how cell towers work, right? And a lot of the best innovations are always like that. They really just
Replicating something that exists and works. Already.
Yeah, and then you just use either new technology, again timing, that might be ready at that moment to and apply it accordingly, and you just improve upon the previous methods, right? So we have cell towers here. You see them on the buildings here. They're ugly as hell.
Yeah,
and,
true.
And so for me, when I saw this company early on, I was like, well, space tower, cell towers in space makes sense.
Oh shit!
I'm like, they just got to get them up there, and they got to prove the technology works and everything too. But what these guys did is, first principles design thinking, which is they started from the ground up, trying to build this thing, understanding the problem of trying to replicate what cell towers do here, communicating with mobile devices with existing hardware. And so these guys are like, okay, we want to put this thing in space.
Right.
We have to solve the problem of this thing being hundreds of miles away. It's got to get through atmospheric conditions. We got to solve for the Doppler effect, speed, all this stuff. Basically, we got to set up these cell towers in space that can work and communicate to a smartphone hundreds of miles away and trick it into thinking that it's a cell tower.
To solve, but
right?
They're figuring it out.
But they set out to do it. And for me, one of the early timing, one of the early traction moves that I saw was AT&T was behind it. Verizon.
Verizon was. I was like, did I say the wrong
Verizon,
one?
American Tower Company, which is the largest tower company in the world, and those guys know towers, right?
Right.
And these guys were the investors, right? And so when you see the guys that are going to get displaced, potentially probably by this technology, well, they might still be around, but less important. But when you see them hedging with these guys, and you see the smartest, rocket companies in the world involved, the smartest MNOs like AT&T, Vodafone, Verizon, 3 billion customers signed up through 45 MNO partnerships. I'm like, this thing's interesting.
Right, it's kind of checks
makes
all
sense.
the boxes.
Who doesn't want wireless? And I know people want wireless technology.
Right.
And I'm thinking that with everything going towards IoT and smart cities, this thing's going to power the whole wireless IoT platform as well. Yeah. So I'm like, there's so much more than just getting on social media or looking at porn in the middle of the mountains.
Which is pretty cool too. You want to cruise? You want some cruise porn? Dude? Yeah.
Or do you want to have a targeted DoD, a contract with the DoD to do targeted strikes in the middle of nowhere?
The use case. That's a very
exactly. Yeah.
That's a big range of use cases.
Hopefully not you when you're looking at porn. That'd be a horrible.
Oh yeah, that would be a really blending of the worlds.
Really catch you with your pants down on that one. But so I'm like,
that's why I did it.
I'm like, this is a $1 trillion or more company opportunity, and I'm like, you don't get these kind of opportunities for, they come along very rarely, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna put some money into this thing, and then they just kept on getting more traction, and then more money came in from Verizon. They put $100 million in. AT&T. I ran it by my rocket scientist friends because I'm not a rocket scientist by name. I'm like, I'm smart through experience, but I wouldn't call myself the smartest guy in the world.
But rockets check out though.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna check with a true wise man knows that he knows nothing.
Exactly.
So I always check with the people that I know should know more about it.
Gotta have trusted advisors around you.
Right. So I asked my rocket scientist friends who work at Blue Origin and stuff like that, and I'm like, what do you guys think about this? And these guys are like, they look at it and they're like, well, fucking A, I think they figured out. I think this could actually work.
This is it. And I'm
we've
been waiting for this
our
whole
all
lives.
right, well, I'm going to invest in this company. They're like, I'm investing too. Well, the rocket scientists are in, I'm in.
True, that's definitely a good sign.
And then it just got more and more de-risked, and I just went deep on studying this thing. I'm like,
Did
dude,
you go to the space launch? We were talking about you watched your buddy basically going out to outer space.
Yeah. So they invited me down there for their rocket launch. So I've always wanted, again, how vision for what you want to do in life kind of comes full circle sometimes. I got invited. They invited select investor groups based on how many shares you had and everything out to Cape Canaveral. So
Very cool.
I got to go out there to see the rocket launch. So the funny story, my parents who were very risk averse, I've made my entire life off risk. And it's done well for me.
Nice.
But I got used to like,
you gotta have
some
an
of the small
appetite
failures.
for it.
Exactly, yeah. And so my parents are very by the book. My dad was a doctor. My mom worked for him and did all the accounting. So yin and yang, he was the talent, I guess. And my mom was like, the operations, keep the whole fucking shit together.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta have both.
Yeah, raise the kids and all that kind of thing. So they were always very risk averse. They had Microsoft in 1987. My dad had like $10,000 worth or something then.
Ooh,
and I
wow.
did boop, boop, boop. I did the math on it, and I'm like, I think it would be worth like $20 to $30 million these days. And he sold it, because he got scared out of his position.
Like 2x or something, or
maybe, yeah. And he's like maybe 50%.
Oh no, dude.
He told me, he's like, Andy, yeah, I was just sitting there and it wasn't doing anything. And I'm like, well, it's doing something now.
It's certainly been doing something.
And so like my investment thesis, I invested a lot in like startups as well, like seed funded, like usually small like checks, and I spread them out across a lot of like tech startups, mostly because they scale well. And take a risk on early stage stuff, right? That's the most fun and the highest risk reward profile. But like,
right.
I judge the team, I understand the business models, and I'm like, I'll bet on this horse in this race. I'll play that game all day long. It's fun. And rewarding.
Right.
So yeah, I went to the space launch, the rocket launch there, got to see a rocket launch, amazing experience. I brought my parents down there.
That's so cool. And you invested in it, so when it's successful, you're like, that's my dough going to the moon.
I talked my parents into it too. So my parents, and now my dad's like,
I taught my parents into it too. I'm going to make them listen to this episode, but like, here, you'll learn more about your investment than I encourage you guys to do.
So I was like, Dad, this is how you can make up for like, you trust me on this one. Trust me, bro.
Forget the past, but now is all we have.
And I'm like, just talk mom into it. Like, I want you guys to have a nice retirement.
Right.
So they put some money into, and then they bought it on the public markets and all that. And, so they came down there with me, and they've done really well as well.
Awesome.
And so my dad was like just stoked, making money finally the right way. And I'm like,
don't
like,
sell,
you should have been
Dad.
doing this the whole time. Yeah, don't sell. I got him in a Rocket Lab as well, another good company.
Yeah, what's a Rocket Lab and Ion Q? Is that?
Ion Key's quantum computing, but that's another one I got really early. Again, high risk reward profile, but like I went deep on them and found them to be the best probably for, they're still early stage, right? Very early revenue contracts from the military and stuff. But I got them at like maybe $7 a share or something like that.
Nice.
I think it's like 50 right now, but like they're riding the AI infrastructure wave. They're probably a few years out from monetizing, but it's still a good one. But Rocket Lab, for me, I was looking at it, a lot of successful launches, good revenue, not profitable yet. Same 4 Ts, further along than Space Mobile. And I was like, this is SpaceX number 2, And I'm like,
true.
I'm like, I'm gonna get the, I'm gonna get the Pepsi to the Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Bet on that one.
Yeah, 100%. Get
I can't get space. Well, you can in the secondary markets, but it's way overpriced right now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you've kind of missed that window.
they got the 350 billion. I like stuff I could 10x, right? And like I'm fine losing my money on it, but the ones I get 10x or 100x on, I'm like,
you're like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
That's like, dude, I've talked about this before. My first crypto investment, I think I told. It was balls. It was just like the shit coin. I got in the pre-sale. My buddies told me all about it, and then I put in like $1,000. It was my first crypto investment ever.
Yep.
I figured out like how to get a crypto.com wallet and a MetaMask wallet, and I had to like use a certain card to move money around and get BNB, then Ethereum. It was fucking complicated.
Man.
Most people would give up, but entrepreneurial spirit, I didn't give up. Put the $1,000 in. Finally, after like a day of trying, locked it in. Over a month, dude, that turned into like $225,000.
Damn.
But this is one of my failures that I always remember because I fucking
I
held
already know
to the
where this
moon.
is
I
going,
held to the moon, and then
And then it went over the moon,
It went
actually.
over the moon. It
I
came
lost
right
in
down to
space,
Earth, and it exploded. And I lost all. Oh, I took out 2,000, so I technically 2x my investment. People are like, oh, you should be happy. No, fuck that. In my head, I lost. But hey, I remember now. So I'm very mindful now of like selling at the right time because it's easy to hold forever.
Yeah.
But like, how do you know when to like sell?
And there's some that you do that for. Like IonQ, I sold all mine because I think it's going to be cheaper probably in a year or two. But like I think it's in an AI curve, a hype curve right now.
True. So you
but
sell
like
right.
I was like, I could buy back in cheaper later again. But I think it's going to commercialize here in a few years probably. But with Space Mobile, like I was like, I bet on that company to be 100% success or maybe 80%, but or failure. I was
Right.
like, okay, this thing is either going to be just
There's
complete
no kind
waste.
of
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, there's like no middle ground. I'm like, either this thing's going to be like one of the greatest investments of all time, and people are like, how'd you do it? Or it's going to be like, oh, I told you so.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm willing to take that bet.
But yeah, how many people told me I told you so and they're wrong?
Yeah,
So-
true.
But
Listen to
now,
your
like
gut.
everybody's waking up to this thing, and they're seeing it more. It's in Verizon's latest commercial. Ben
nice.
Stiller did a commercial with them with AT&T last
great
year.
sign, bro.
And they're launching more satellites, and they'll be available in the U.S. later this year, latest beginning of 2026. So like wireless connectivity, not having it dead zones will be a thing of the past.
True.
But then everybody more mainstream will kind of know about it, and
So now
that's
it's still early,
That's
right?
when it gets really exciting. So, yeah, it's still kind of early, I think, but it did run from like at one point it was $2 a share.
I think that's around when I got it. I got my $5.50.
Yeah, I got a couple
options.
friends in that.
Yeah, that
and
was
they're
really
like,
good
Andy, you
time.
made me millions. So
Sick,
I'm like, hey, do what I can.
I only put a couple hundred, but hey, it turned out all right. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sold.
and they're like, Andy, are you still selling? Like, it went up to 40 at one point,
Yeah,
and then
it
it
did go
dropped
up, and
down
then now
to
it's down to
24.
like 25
And people are like, oh, do I sell? And I'm like, I told you from day one. Like,
it's a long
I'm like,
play,
this
right?
one's either 100% lost, or you're gonna make a lot of money at it. And just hold it for 5 years. Don't even look at it.
Right, true.
I mean, I still look at it, but I like,
You gotta
I don't
look
care.
at it.
Yeah.
But with that,
But I saw it
with
go up to
remove
40.
the
I'm like,
motion.
still not selling.
Yeah,
Go up to 100, still not selling. I'll go up to 500, still not selling. I'm waiting till like
1,000?
2030, 2035 or whatever.
Wow. All right. Well, that's exciting. We'll definitely do another episode of this podcast.
Yeah, compare and contrast then.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm like, no, I lost
You're
everything.
like, oh,
Just-
fuck, you're back to living in your car
Can I go back in
Seattle?
time? Yeah, no, just kidding. Back in the car in Seattle. That was a
That's a
fun
full
story arc.
We'll do an episode, yeah, exactly. Like that. I always tie it back, bro. This podcast is all over.
Or maybe I'll have a space car to sleep in, 'cause,
I like
at the
that.
rate they're going,
I like that one.
I'll be in space there for that episode.
Yes. Dude, well, this has been super fun. It's already been a fucking hour, so I have one topic I want to close this out on, but this has been great. We'll definitely do another version of this, but I'm glad we were able to make this happen before you travel again for another God knows how long.
Oh man, I love being here, but I also love traveling. So
Traveling is
like
great.
I want to get some skiing in. So Europe's yes. And then I have to go to South by Southwest. We're doing a great event there for founders and investors, bringing all the
Awesome.
people together. Visiting a place I love, Austin.
True.
Love that
That's where a
place.
lot
Lived there
happened
for a
for
few
you.
years, but so good to be back there. Then I'm going to go to Seattle. Have a friend doing an event there, fashion show. I told her I'd show up. So
Be a model?
Go support. No, anyway, I'll be a spectator.
I'll show up. Don't even worry about it. Get the limo.
Put me back in.
Put me back in. I got this still.
Work out for like 3-4 months, or like a year, something like that. Get ready for this, my moment.
ready. So
Making a comeback.
That's great, man. So we just did the event in January. We co-hosted. I guess you guys had the event at Creatures Rooftop. We co-located in the event.
Yeah.
That was a hit. We had a
Too
fuckload of
much
people.
so.
Too many people.
400
whatever.
people, I think, through the door that night.
Yeah, that was like
Almost felt like a
100
party.
capacity. No, that was
I'm like, this
insane.
is a professional event here, people.
No, it was a rager. So I mean, we had a blast. We
Rager at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Exactly. And people are like, what do you do for a living? Woo!
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we've collaborated on events before. We'll do more again. And I love
Yeah.
working on events with you. It's a fun thing. We both
Oh, those
are
are
passionate
fun.
about
I
that.
mean, so productive. So many great like people in the room. Like everybody, like investors, founders of companies. Like great, productive and fun. Like
Exactly. You
like a
enjoy
professional
yourself.
social event.
Right.
But next time we'll probably like try to control how many people come up.
Yeah,
the
well, we'll
elevator.
talk beforehand about
Yeah.
capacity. We'll figure that out. I think we both just maxed out.
The
I think we
problem
both
was like,
put 300
people would come
people.
up and then they were like committed at that point because they'd open up the door and it's like, boom,
Elevator,
people.
there's just so many fucking people.
You're like, well, I guess I'm going.
You're
I
right.
guess I'm gonna go in and like then it was
Exactly.
just
At
people
one
on
point, I
top
took
of
the
people.
elevator down just to I was like, I need to catch my breath for a second. I just
Yeah.
went downstairs. I was like, holy shit! But a lot of good connections there, man. It was a great
Yeah.
event, quality people. So I mean,
Great seeing old faces, meet new people as well. So like I love events. Like people are a passion for me, and like events are kind of my way to bring that out. And now I just do it for fun and brand awareness. So
exactly.
don't do
yeah.
it to make money.
Yeah,
anymore,
same.
but-
We don't make money.
Yeah.
We don't make money on events either. It's just building the network, relationships. You find new deals through it, and it's just something that's fun to do besides being on a Zoom call all the time.
Yeah,
so
totally.
if anyone's listening, find local events about the thing you're passionate about, whether it's tech or art. Fashion, there's events everywhere. Meetup.com, Eventbrite, you find events for anything.
Do you ever find it funny when you've been working with people? In some cases, like I've been meeting with these people for years. Like my CTO of like my consumer electronics company, He worked he was in Germany, and I didn't meet him till after we sold off the company.
Wow, so a big moment.
Yeah, so like I ended up meeting him. I'm like, fuck, you're like way taller than I thought.
Oh yeah,
'Cause,
Zoom, dude. Zoom calls, you can see everything about a person except for their height.
Exactly.
So when
yeah.
you meet a person, it's always shocking. Like, whoa, I didn't. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
had
some
it
people are
before.
like, you're as short as I expected.
Exactly.
Because of
exactly.
their, the attitude sometimes. But like, and
Yeah,
some
the
people are like,
attitude, true,
you're
yeah,
like,
exactly.
you're like, you're taller than I thought.
You're like, holy crap, you're calm, cool, collected, confident, but a tall
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah. Whoa.
Hey, what's
Yeah.
going on up there?
Great to meet you in real life,
Awesome. So yeah, we'll be hosting more events. Depending on when this podcast is released, in March and April, we're doing another world tour of events. So check that out. Drop the link. Any parting words or what's next for Andy? Where can people find you? Anything that you want to share with the people before we wrap up here?
Yeah. Hey, people.
Hey, what's up, peeps?
So NachoNacho is my new company. I'm the head of marketing over there. And really what I get to do every day is help entrepreneurs and people promote their software products. And so if you're a software founder out there and you want to help to promote you, we'd love to help you there. We work with a lot of investors as well. So we have a white label platform where we bring all the perks and discounts we have to their portcos to help support their growth. But pretty much we have something for anybody. So even if you're trying to save on software, we work with all the top brands and we usually have the best prices. So definitely, check us out or come to one of our events and just have a beer with this guy and I.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I promise you that.
Yep, fun and productive too. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you need anything, always there to help people. I try to be a connector. So, a rising tide raises all boats. And that's one of my big philosophies that, if I can't help myself, which is usually actually ironically not always my first goal, if I could create win-win-win situations, I'll win as a part of that. And, so come to me, like if I could introduce you to somebody in my network, I create good value for myself because I'm building a good reputation and relationship with people that, maybe I'll connect you with somebody where you guys could help each other and you say, hey, thanks, Andy.
You always remember
I'll be
to
top of
connect
mind
them.
for when, when you think of something, you're like, oh, I know this guy, I like him. He actually, actually helps me out.
Exactly.
So I'll refer him business as well too.
Hell yeah, dude. You're a great guy, bro. I appreciate you, and it's been an awesome conversation. So thanks for making this happen,
fun.
bro.
Yeah, we could probably go for hours.
We could. We're gonna do it. Bring it in. Bring it in. I was gonna have Lorenzo do a little shout out, but I'll show the people.
Yep.
This is sponsored by
Yay Organics.
Every day. Okay, Yay Organics. So we're in their space right now. So thanks
That's their buddy Lorenzo's place.
This is I'll show you guys the products. They got a lot of really healthy products. Check them out, and we'll have Lorenzo on here soon. But thank you, Andy, and everyone for listening. Have a good night, y'all.
See you guys.